Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to News Dose. I guess April Fool's Day is today, which is one of the most annoying days of the year in my opinion, as people try to spread fake news. I prefer when somebody is clever rather than, haha, I made you all fall for it, but there was some publishers that did some amusing things. Pokemon added an uncatchable Magikarp. That was pretty amusing, but in short, I'm not going to try to trick you all today. So no worries there, and the Nintendo Switch might be getting a surprise game that fans will certainly be excited about. The Switch just keeps getting better and better, and just wow at those Monster Hunter numbers. We got an update on that today, and the Switch had a massive week thanks to Monster Hunter. We will talk about that today and plenty more, including PlayStation, some third-party games, and even E3. First though, let's talk about Outriders. Outriders did launch today, and over the last few weeks, I've seen a lot of anticipation for this game. In fact, 50% of you all voted for Outriders being your most anticipated game releasing in April. I'm sure some of that has to do with it launching into Xbox Game Pass as well. Ever since it was revealed to be a day one launch title for Xbox Game Pass, I noticed a lot more people talking about this game, and that's one of the reasons releasing your game into Game Pass can be beneficial. Word of mouth really helps out with games like this, but its success seems to go beyond just Xbox Game Pass. Over on Steam, Outriders cracked the top 10 for the most concurrent players within the last 24 hours, where it peaked at more than 103,000 users. That is great for a game that just launched today. Now, just for comparison's sake, Marvel's Avengers, which also was published by Square Enix, peaked at 28,000 users at launch. That is a huge difference and shows you the excitement around Outriders. And yes, it is the best-selling game on Steam as of this recording. I think this will be a surprise for some fans because it originally seemed like there wasn't much hype for this game. Things really turned around for Outriders though, so big congrats to the talented team of People Can Fly and their publisher, Square Enix. Now, I haven't gotten a chance to play this game myself yet, so let me know in the comments below on what you think about Outriders if you've played it. Next up, we unfortunately got another delay to talk about. This is hardly surprising anymore, but this time it's not with a game. Instead, it's actually hardware. Yes, Analogue took to Twitter to reveal they had to make the tough decision to delay the highly sought-after Analogue Pocket to October of 2021. The Analogue Pocket, of course, is a device that allows you to play original Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games. I actually really want this thing. It looks good. I love the design of this thing, and its screen just looks fantastic, but like almost anybody who wants this thing, I never got to pre-order it. The pre-orders were just an absolute mess for this thing. Hopefully they'll get that fixed up for the next round of pre-orders. However, this delay is due to severe electrical component shortages and logistic issues. This has been an ongoing problem with hardware, and we've heard several tech companies talk about various issues with manufacturing hardware right now. AMD has had problems, which means the Xbox Series and PS5 has also been affected. So this isn't overly surprising that Analogue, a smaller company, is being affected by this as well. Hopefully they'll get everything figured out though, and everybody gets their Analogue Pockets as soon as possible. Like I said, I'm just waiting for the next round of pre-orders. This looks like a very attractive device if you like retro handhelds. Also, there was some confusion surrounding E3 today, and really, I think the confusion has been going on for a while now. There are still a lot of questions surrounding this event in 2021. Now, I have very fond memories of E3 as I love when all these big publishers come together to make huge announcement after huge announcement. It's a lot of fun, but there are doubts for this event in this current climate. What publishers are going to team up with ESA to do E3 as an example? PlayStation will probably sit out again. They have skipped E3 the last few years, so that would make sense. Then you have Nintendo, which has Nintendo Directs, and that's something we're seeing with a lot of these publishers. They're doing their own digital events now, which is probably much cheaper than paying ESA, so yeah, there are some questions about E3, and apparently one of those was pricing for attendees. There was a rumor rapidly spreading earlier today that ESA was going to charge to partially lock some content behind a $35 paywall. This was being reported by the Video Game Chronicles, which has plenty of sources. They are a trustworthy outlet, and I highly respect them. Now, with that said, Andy Robinson did point out that one source had told him the ESA was willing to scrap that proposal following negative feedback. Well, they definitely got that negative feedback today and quickly responded to the rumor, stating that this is a free event for all attendees. That's good news, I suppose, since it's the one and only correct move here. You know, these publishers want as many eyes as they can get on their products, and by locking content behind a paywall would definitely affect how many viewers they can get. It just wouldn't go over well, but now, to be fair, we don't really know what they were going to lock behind a paywall if they ever did want to do that in the first place. It's just rumors, and it has been confirmed to be free per usual. So if you've seen anywhere that they're charging money, don't worry about it. It's confirmed it is still free. That's great news, so now we just need to see them deliver. I will say this though, no matter if publishers decide to do E3 or to do their own digital events, I just hope we can get some good events this year. I think last year was a bit of a scramble, and I think with better preparations, this year will be much better in terms of exciting events. Let's talk about PlayStation though. We were just talking about logistic issues, and the PS5 has been affected by this as well. Regardless though, Sony has been trying to do everything they can to flood the market with PS5s. I know they're still hard to get as they sell out pretty much immediately, but according to a senior director of engineering at PlayStation over on LinkedIn, they've already sold 6.5 million PS5s since the launch and counting. Now, it's important to keep in mind this number may have changed already since its original post, but we can assess that the PS5 has at least sold 6.5 million units and probably more than that. That's pretty impressive during times like this. Now, I know some of you will point out the fact that some of those consoles are being scalped, and, well, that's absolutely true. Yeah, I hate scalpers just as much as the next person. However, with every restock, we are seeing legit customers grab the PS5 as well, and that's why we keep seeing PS5 games shoot up the charts during these restocks. That is a sign that real customers are getting the PS5 as well. I mean, they're not going out to buy a PS5 and then no games. They will buy games with said console. It's just a very popular console, and the same thing goes to the Xbox Series. I think some people get wrapped up into who's selling the most, but right now both are having great success, and that's just good for all gamers. Whoever can produce the most will sell the most. That's how it will be until that initial demand has been met, which clearly has not happened yet. Hopefully that will be sooner rather than later. According to AMD, the second half of the year might see some improvements, and if that's true, we should see even more restocks during the latter half of 2021. Nonetheless, big congrats to Sony on the PS5. I've really enjoyed the PS5 myself so far. It's a good console with some fun games. Demon's Souls was one of my favorite games last year, and if you do grab a PS5, Demon's Souls is the one you absolutely need to play. Please, go pick up that game. Now, while we're on the topic of PlayStation, there's a big PlayStation Spring Sale happening right now. We'll just kind of go over this real quick, but the Spring Sale will be up until April 28th, so you have plenty of time to get the games that you want, and there are a lot of games here. Just skimming through it, you have Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Ghost of Tsushima, The Last of Us Part 2, Hitman 3, which just released a few months ago, Yakuza Like a Dragon, Immortals Phoenix Rising is 50% off, and loads more. All of those games I just talked about are not all that old. Several of those released within just the last 6 months, so you might want to check the PlayStation Store for some nice discounts for some great games. Next up, we got some Nintendo Switch news. A couple weeks ago, Square Enix revealed the next game in the Life is Strange saga, True Colors. Now, this game looks really good. The whole game seems to be about empathy and a strange mystery surrounding the death of the main protagonist's brother. It does look intriguing, and I definitely want to play this one for myself, but when Square Enix revealed this game, they only announced it for Xbox, PlayStation, and PC. The Nintendo Switch was left out, and that is unfortunate. I think this game could run on the Switch relatively well thanks to its pleasing art style without much of a sacrifice. I do think it would look good on the Switch, but so far there haven't really been any signs of a Switch version, or at least until today. So check this out. Over on the ESRB website where they rate games, they list the Nintendo Switch under platforms. If you look there, it does mention all of the platforms it was previously announced for, but strangely enough, it does say it was rated for the Nintendo Switch as well. And okay, that's interesting. This is a very good sign that True Colors indeed will come to the Switch eventually, and I think what could be happening here is something we've been seeing with a lot of Switch ports. There has been a trend of Switch ports releasing after the initial release on other platforms. I mean, we just saw that with Crash 4, which looks great on the Switch. And I think it's probably easy to explain why this happens. Developers might have to do a little extra work to get it running properly on the Switch. I think that makes sense. I, however, do wish that publishers would be more forthcoming about this stuff though. If they plan to release a game on the Switch even after the initial launch for other platforms, it would be nice for Nintendo fans to know this ahead of time. I suspect the reason they hide some of this type of stuff though is so some fans don't just wait for the release of another platform. I don't really like that, but I do figure that plays some type of role in a decision like this. Either way, hopefully this turns out to be true. Life is Strange True Colors would be a great release for the Nintendo Switch. And speaking of the Nintendo Switch, the Switch had a quote-unquote monstrous weekend. As we talked about earlier this week, Monster Hunter had a big launch, especially over in Japan, and now we're getting more official numbers on just how massive this launch was. So check this out. Monster Hunter Rise sold 1.3 million physical units in Japan alone, and possibly up to 2 million with digital included. That is a crazy launch, and as you would expect, this has had a major effect on Nintendo Switch hardware. The Switch went on to sell 267,000 units in Japan last week. Just for comparison's sake, the week prior the Switch sold 89,000. That is quite a big difference and goes to show you the Monster Hunter effect. We've been talking about this for months now. It was expected that Rise would do well in Japan, and it would be a big system seller. I'm not really surprised by this even in the slightest, but I will be interested to see how it performs in the coming weeks and months. After playing it myself, it's really good. Visually it looks great on the Switch, and thankfully it's a lot of fun as well. I have to say though, one thing that kind of surprised me is I really like the music in Monster Hunter Rise. I will ask you though, how much do you think Monster Hunter Rise will sell by the end of 2021? Let me know in the comments below. And on to our last talking point of the day, the poll of the day. With so much conversation around legacy games as of recent, I wanted to know if you all play legacy games on your Xbox One and Xbox Series. Xbox is the one platform that has invested a lot into keeping their old libraries alive. They had to do a lot of work to make this happen over the last 7 years, but it's certainly paid off. You can buy an Xbox Series and play original Xbox games on it. You can play Xbox 360 games as well as Xbox One games, so I asked you all if you all play legacy games on your Xbox One or Xbox Series, and 77% of you said yes. I was very happy to see the results of this poll. Some people say only a few people actually play legacy games, so it was nice to see 77% of you take advantage of this amazing Xbox feature. I myself play plenty of legacy games, and I've personally bought several games that I've missed out on in the past. Just a few old games that I would recommend checking out even today for people who haven't played them is Lost Odyssey, Blue Dragon, Banjo-Kazooie, Conquer Live and Reloaded, Viva Pinatas, Cameo, and pretty much all of Rare's old games. But yeah, I love backwards compatibility, and not just for replaying old games. I also like seeing other people play these games for the first time. That's always really cool to see these old games get new fans. I think Shane Pfeiffer in the comments said it perfectly. An old game you've never played is new to you. That's very well said, so kudos. Anyways though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget the bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.